What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Modern Fatherhood Podcast. I'm Wes, the host, and with me is Chris. This is going to be one of the first dad interviews that we're going to do, and hopefully it continues to be a thing. So, with that, Chris, why don't you tell us a bit about your background and tell us about yourself, man?
Well, my name is Chris. I live in New Jersey. I'm a father to a 5-year-old uh, girl, and I've been in family court for the last 5 years, nonstop, literally nonstop. I've had over 30 court hearings in New Jersey here, and I just finished up my fourth trial in 5 years, and still fighting strong, trying anyway.
Yeah, I mean that's a big thing. You hear dads talk all the time. Never give up. Uh, keep showing up, do all these things, but over 30 court hearings and then four trials, not many dads go through that. It's awesome that you're still standing strong and just doing the damn thing.
Yeah, I help a lot of dads like throughout the country. I do a lot of mentoring because I have my own father's group as well. But I do a lot of mentoring. It's amazing how like, guys like single guys in my position that were never married are like they have one or two court hearings and they have this parenting plan and they have everything like laid out for them and like nothing else needs to be decided.
Yeah.
And I remember in the very like 5 years ago, I'm like I submitted a parenting plan. I'm thinking like we're going to go to court and we're going to negotiate a parenting plan. And the thing about a parenting plan is like all the opposition has to do is say no, and you don't get it. The judge doesn't even they won't even consider it, and you have to continue to like every little thing that you need now you have to file a motion to do. Like you want time, you have to file a motion. You want custody, you have to file a motion. You want daycare, you have to file a motion. Like if the opposition doesn't want to cooperate, you're stuck. That's in New Jersey specifically, the only avenue for a father for their rights and to get decisions made is family court if the opposition doesn't want to agree.
Right. And so Georgia's a legitimization state. Are y'all a legitimization state as well?
I'm not even familiar with that term. What does that mean? You
So in Georgia, if you're not married, even if you sign the birth certificate, you don't have rights to the child.
okay? New
You have
Jersey
to
is
go,
different.
yeah, you have to go through a process called legitimization, and it's through the court. It's basically the start of custody. So you go in, you file for legitimization. If the mom doesn't protest, then it's a very easy process, and you can actually file for legitimization just through the court clerk. Like go up there, you and the mom go there, sign a legitimization form, they stamp it, put it off, and you have rights to your kid.
Yes.
Um,
So New Jersey, you go through paternity, which is basically legitimization, and
they need to do that in Georgia. They
what,
need to.
yeah, once you establish paternity, as because I was never married, I still don't have rights to my child. So establishing paternity just says, okay, you're the father.
Yep.
It doesn't force them to put you on the birth certificate. It doesn't do anything except that says you are now the father. Now, once you're the dad, now you can ask for time. Now you can ask for custody. Technically, you can file for all of them at the same time. But what'll happen is you'll do paternity. Once they say you're the dad, then they'll put you into court where they'll say, okay, parenting time, and then they'll. I ended up having a trial for legal custody so that I could be a 50-50 contributor legally to our child. And so I'm guessing that's somewhat similar. When you say
Yeah.
legitimize, like that means like once you, but you're saying you immediately get rights once you file that, or
You get legitimized and recognized as the dad. Um, so you have to be legitimized first. So the way my court and a couple other dads that I talked to, we filed for legitimization. We went to court. Once we got legitimization, if it was already part of the plan, like your lawyer worked it out and everything, and the judge agrees, at that moment they can put in a custody agreement or a parenting plan, and at that point you can move forward and you could have 50-50. Odds are a lot of cases that doesn't happen. And if the mom protests your legitimization, it's a whole other thing because then you have to go through paternity testing. you have to then start fighting for your rights. That's when the battle starts here in Georgia.
That's weird. Why wouldn't they just start at paternity? Like, just do a DNA test. You're the dad. Not how would you fight that?
We've all asked that question,
That's bizarre.
and
You guys like have an extra step.
yeah, so you can go and at the legitimization hearing, you can go and you can request a paternity test. In which case, a lot of dads do because they want to double, triple check that the kid is theirs
I would
before they go
imagine
forward
hundred
with it.
percent of dads would do that.
Yeah, you would think. But here's where it gets kind of fucky in Georgia. You cannot be legitimized but be on the birth certificate, and she can file for child support and put you on child support, and it's going to be a completely separate thing from your family court. So you could have zero rights to the kid, be on the birth certificate, and have to pay birth or child support. And then say you go in for legitimization and you get legitimized and do a paternity test, child comes back as not yours. You have to go through a whole nother court system and fight just to get off child support.
Interesting. But,
Because they're two completely separate things here in the
so
state of Georgia.
for people that are married as well in Georgia.
Marriage, it's cut and dry, super easy.
Yeah, in New Jersey here, like if you're married and you have a child, the father, no matter even if the woman cheated, like the father is still presumed the father of that child. If you're married, so when you get divorced, you presumed you have all of those rights. But when you're
Yeah.
not married, you have to go through paternity and then. But like you're saying, like in Georgia, you go through legitimization, then paternity, and then you can get
If
divorced.
you even request the paternity in the court.
Yeah, like I don't understand why you wouldn't just do that. I feel like that would be the default. That would be the obvious starting place is
Exactly.
paternity. Am I the father? Okay, now let's figure out that moving forward. Interesting.
Exactly. I think I think most dads should just, especially if you're not married and if there's any chance of infidelity, you should definitely just double check. And if you're getting legitimized and you're having to do the fight anyway, just get it done real quick. It's
Yeah,
super quick.
if infidelity or not, like just do it.
Yeah, how many dads don't do it and then find out 15 years later that the kid wasn't theirs?
That would be. I
It
mean,
happens so often. I just had a dad talk to me about it, how he raised three kids this whole time. He thought it was theirs, and then it turned out later on down the road they were doing the 23andMe stuff.
hmm
Found out the kids weren't his at all.
that's so scary.
Confronted the
So
wife.
so
Now
unfortunate
they're
as well.
divorced.
Uh.
And it was supposed to just be a fun family activity to trace their heritage. I
Sorry, sweetheart.
Yeah, it sounds
Unbelievable.
absolutely insane.
Well, I feel like I learned something just now. This legitimizing and this extra process is
It's
crazy.
it's terrible. And so for me, I would say my custody fight wasn't difficult the first two hearings. So we went in for legitimization. Um, she didn't contest me. She didn't argue with me. You know, I was the dad. She knew I was the dad. I knew I was the dad. He was a copy and paste version of me immediately. And I didn't contest it at all. I didn't do paternity, which I'm sitting here preaching to dads to do paternity, but thankfully in my
Right.
case, that's 1,000% my kid. Um, and I did the legitimization hearing and then I moved forward immediately and we scheduled another hearing to get 50-50 custody. And I became the secondary custodial parent and everything. And, you know, she had primary, you know, decision making, all that stuff. And my battle started after that, where things started just going wrong, and that's where I had to file another another motion to become the primary custodian or at least the primary medical decision maker, and then I had to file the emergency order and won full custody of my son.
Wow. Now, when you say 50-50 custody in the beginning, like what is your guys' definition in Georgia of 50-50 custody?
It's not necessarily 50-50. They call it that. All it means is that the mom's the primary parent, you're the secondary parent, uh, and you have rights to the kid.
Like this is something that I'm always talking about with dads is like most people they're like I have 50-50, but it's like wait, hold up. Do you have 50-50 legal custody in the decision making, or do you have 50-50 physical custody and physically having your children equally?
Right.
And it's in getting fathers to understand that there's a distinction between the both of them. That way you can have a real conversation.
Yeah,
Like,
most of them don't understand the whole decision making part of things.
yes, yes,
And that's where the big thing came for me. Was one of the reasons I filed another motion was strictly so that I could make 100% of the decisions
right.
and not have to consult her on them.
Well, the legal custody issue for most states is like, this is where like most fathers are like, well, it's impossible to get, or even lawyers, it's impossible for a man to get 50-50 custody of their children, or to get full custody of their children. I mean, because like the mother has to be like a crackhead, or like, like it has to be something so extreme.
Yeah.
And I rarely hear stories where dads have like 50-50 or 100% custody. Sorry, I keep saying 50. Where like that's not the case. Like I feel like
There's very, very few. Either the mom decides she doesn't want to be a mom, she's on drugs or has some type of addiction problem, or there was abuse and she's just a bad mom. The real only avenue for a man to win full custody in most cases is the mom signing her rights away or the dad being able to prove she's an unfit mom.
right.
There's a very, very, very few cases where that's not the case.
And this is a lot of where my experience comes in, especially talking to so many dads, because it's supposed to be equal that way. It's supposed to be that way. It's supposed to be like, well, also for the father, like unless you can prove this and that, like the father should also be involved as well. But the benefit that I'm realizing, and this is like a kind of like a taboo thing to talk about, is laws favor women more than they favor men, and specifically domestic violence laws. And those are the laws that need to really be changed so that it doesn't always give the mother this upper hand. You have a situation where you guys have a conflict and the police come to your door even after you've called them. There's a better chance that you as a man are going to jail, going to get
100%.
the police will file a restraining order against you just for attempt, even as attempt.
Yeah.
And now just because you have that restraining order against you, the mother is entitled to full legal custody.
Yeah. And you're the one that called the police most of the time.
And that is like that's the it's most people don't like to talk about it because I think domestic violence is a real thing. I think for real scenarios in which women or men, but in which people are really the victims of domestic violence, I think it's absolutely a real thing. I'm not trying to dissuade that, but the problem is when women know that it favors them, it's easy for them to create this narrative, and then all of a sudden so many dads are going through this. This is probably the most common thing fathers are going through that delay them being parents is
Yeah. I was I
false
was just
charges.
talking to another dad. He's the same thing happened to him. Uh, they broke up, everything was fine. And then once he started dating again later on down the road, that's when all of a sudden all these things started being claimed. Like they were out and the ex-wife and the new girlfriend were together, and the ex-wife started accusing him of all these things. And then when asked about it, there was no claims to substantiate it. But then when they went to court, she started bringing it up, and there was no evidence whatsoever, and there was never a case where that was true. But now the context of the court case completely changed, and it all started veering in her favor because, oh, he hit me, and now everyone's going to start looking at things a difference, because it doesn't take much to change the opinion of a man when it comes from that perspective. If a woman says, oh, he hit me, most people are just going to believe her at her word.
The victimization, yep. They're victims.
Especially nowadays. And I definitely agree. There is domestic violence for men and for women, but it is a solid fact and one we see very often, where in spiteful and angry custody battles and divorce, those claims are used for the upper hand.
Hmm. Very much control. I want to say I spent about 4 months establishing my rights to my child and only getting like 17 hours of visitation a week. And the majority of that time was supervised. Like, as soon as my child was born, the first thing, like, the mother kept taking her away, and I'm like, listen, like, I want to spend time. This is the beginning of COVID too. I want to see her too. Like, I want to spend time with her too. And every time I'm like, oh, my friends and family want to meet her, no, she'd get up and leave and go out of state. And I finally like was like, okay, listen, if you keep doing this, I'm gonna have no choice but to file in court to establish some kind of rights, because this is when I learned I didn't have any rights, because she could just keep going. But
Yeah.
I had filed my first emergency motion because she had left the state, and the judge denied my motion. But this is the crazy thing: the judge denied my motion. However, because she threatened to call the cops on his clerk, like he said this in court, she's not participating even though she's aware of this hearing. She's threatening to call the cops on my clerk. She's out of town. Sir, what would you like me to do? And I was like, well, I'd like her to come back into the state because we're in the middle of COVID. He's like, okay. She has 24 hours to get back into the state. What else would you like me to do? I was like, well, I had already filed at the same time for paternity and for parenting time and custody. He's like, okay, paternity will happen first. You're going to schedule this date. Make this court order and inform this woman, inform her now. She has 24 hours to get back into the state. Otherwise, we will come and get get the child. And so within 24 hours, she's back into the state. And now my legal process has started.
Heck yeah.
And so I want to say 4 months later, we're back and forth. So like the judge, when after paternity was established, the judge is like, all right, well, you'll have limited time. But because she was like, oh, our child needs her mother, the judge was like, well, you need okay, so then he'll have supervised visitation. And I'm like, why do I need supervised visitation, Your Honor? Oh, because your child's too young and she's breastfeeding. So I'm like, wait, because I'm a man, I need supervision because my child is too young and she's breastfeeding. We can accommodate the breastfeeding. Like, she could pump. Like, I don't need to be supervised. I don't need this label of supervision. And so for 4 months, I was fighting this supervision. And because we were in the middle of COVID, like, I was like locked in my house with this person that I'm in litigation with, that were basically like bumping heads.
That
And
sounds terrible. That sounds like the worst nightmare of so many dads.
it was miserable. It was so miserable. And at the same time, like, we're still learning the court system, her and I, and we're trying to be civil. But then the real issue is the grandmother is the one fueling all of this. So like in front of it, like when her and I are face to face, everything is great. It still feels like jail in my home, but we're co-parenting, we're doing things together, and it's kind of going great. And she's still forced to trial. Everything's going great, even though I have the supervision. She's still forced to trial because we needed a trial for the custody, for the legal custody. Like, they wouldn't just give me a hearing. They couldn't just look at her opinion or her evidence and be like, oh no, 50-50. She wanted a trial, so we had a trial, and she ranted to the judge for, I don't know, maybe 40 minutes about nothing. About not just the judge just kept letting her rant, and my attorney's like, I have to object, I have to, and the judge is like, no, I think some of this is relevant. Nothing was relevant.
Never is.
The judge awarded 50-50 legal custody, removed the supervision, reduced my parenting time. So instead of having 17 hours, I had 14 hours a week, reduced my parenting time, maximized child support, and told me that I could file for overnights at a later date.
What a dick.
So now that I don't have supervision, now she wants to. Now there's no control. Her and I are hanging out like every day now. Like, now that there's new supervision, we're back to like, okay, we just had this trial. Let's like focus on what we can do. The judge said I could file for overnights after a year. So after a year, like, this is like maybe 5 or 6 months later. Her and I are going out to lunches. We're going out to dinners. We're spending like basically all day together. We're basically dating again. Basically, not dating, but basically.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Everything is going great. And so now I'm like, hey, so how about overnights? Like, I'd like to, have some time with Anna. Like, and I'm not trying to exclude her, but I'm not also trying to insinuate she's going to stay overnight as well. Just overnights. Right. And she doesn't want to agree. She doesn't want to agree. So I'm like, okay, well, the judge said after a year, I can file for overnights. And so I file for overnights. The first thing that happens is she stops letting me see Anna, my daughter. Now I'm back to like 17 hours a week. So now, because she has a history of like going out of the state and now she's keeping her from me again, I start using a tracking device to track my child. And so 1 month later, she finds this tracking device, goes to the cops. She tells the cops that she knows it's mine. She tells the cops that she's not afraid. She tells the cops, like, I'm not trying to get him in trouble. I just want him to not use the tracking device. And the cops are like, well, we'll talk to him. A month later, I'm charged with felony stalking. It's like a fourth-degree felony. I'm indicted. I'm indicted a little bit later, but I'm indicted. I get arrested. The day that I get arrested, so it's like a month investigation, but the day that I get arrested, she files an emergency hearing for full legal custody. She's coached on what to do. The same day and she waits until I'm arrested, files for full legal custody, gets it, and now I'm back to supervised visitation. So I get out of jail. I'm indicted. I'm fighting a felony charge. We don't have a restraining order. We only have a no contact order. But a no contact order, it's similar to a restraining order. It's not as severe. But we have a no contact order. And now I have to have supervision, back to supervision. And the judge, after a few months, he's like, you can't file for overnights until now your criminal issues are resolved.
The criminal issues that are, but it's as simple as like having an air tag on your baby's diaper bag.
Exactly. So now I have these criminal allegations for, I want to say over a year, like a year and a half. And I'm not allowed to file for overnights until they're resolved. And she's fighting tooth and nail. And the prosecutor and my attorney is like, they're both like, this is like such a crappy case, but they're like, can we just negotiate? Can we negotiate? Can we negotiate? And she just didn't have to, because she knows she doesn't have to. And here's the other thing is like, they know they don't have to negotiate because as long as they hide behind the court system, they know that it will drag out and take forever. It will take forever. So during this whole time, she has full legal custody. I don't know this at the time, but she starts making incredibly lewd allegations to doctors. I'm not going to say it on your podcast because I don't want it to, but just think of the most heinous things that men get murdered over in prison. And This is what she's saying to every doctor. And I don't know this I don't know this at the time. And so she has full legal custody. She's taking her, at this time also our daughters had gone to the doctors more than 20 times in this year. She's had over 11 antibiotics. She's on an antibiotic almost every single month. Again, I don't know about this because she's not telling me. And so now we finally come to the end of it. I go into a program called PTI in New Jersey. I think it's like I think it's a national thing where, like, you know, if you don't have a criminal record, you can go to what's called a pretrial intervention. And once it's like a step below probation. And it's like once you complete the program, then you are done. You have no criminal record. You have nothing. So I go into PTI, but the day that I'm accepted into PTI through the courts, I file now for overnights. Like, I'm like, okay, I'm done. My criminal issues are resolved. I'm filing for overnights. But I now get a knock on the door from Child Protective Services, and this is where she made lots of mistakes, but this is where she now made that one of the heinous allegations and brought it to my attention. This is where now I find out about it. And so now we have Child Protective Services involved. We have detectives, and this allegation went really quick. It happened, and then it went away. Like they had no findings. It went away. So now we have our hearing for overnights. I'm like, I want overnights now, and to remove the supervision and to get back my legal custody. Right. So like, a criminal thing is resolved. Now I'm trying to get my rights again. And so she doesn't have a lawyer because she's like, well, we're in court. He's asking for overnights, but his criminal issue isn't resolved. He's in PTI for another 18 months. She's thinking, oh no, he can't do this because he still has 18 months in this program. And she's like, I'm just hoping that we can change supervisors because I'm not happy with the supervisorial situation. So we're like, well, no, PTI is resolved. That's the end of whatever's going on. There is no restraining order. There's a no contact order. And the judge ordered us already to communicate through this court app, right? Well, then we bring up this allegation. We're like, listen, she made this allegation, and we wanted to bring this to the court's attention. And so, like, the judge in the middle of court is like, why, how am I hearing about this explosive allegation right now? Everybody clear the courtroom except you guys. I'm going back to chambers. I'm going to get to the bottom of this. He goes to chambers. He gets the Child Protective Services report. He then comes back out of chambers, starts reading the report on the record, and he's reading allegation, 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 allegation. And he finally gets to this heinous, crazy allegation. And he says, okay, Child Protective Services, there's no finding here. All right, sir, what would you like? So this is like one of those first, he sits up, what would you like, sir? I was like, well, I'm presenting to you a 50-50 physical custody schedule. And he's like, okay, I see this. This is pretty standard. Miss, do you have any objections to this? Well, he's in PTI, and I'm just trying to change supervisors. I don't hear an objection. His criminal issue is resolved according to, as far as I'm concerned. So I didn't hear an objection to this 50-50 parenting schedule. We're going to do this. So he's like, but we can't just put her in shock. So we're going to start this slow. We're going to give you 2 months. By this date, this 50-50 schedule will be your schedule. But in the meantime, let's get you some overnight. So he's like, we're going to give you an overnight starting once a week, just so that we can build the child up, because the child's never had overnights. She's
Right.
like two years old at this point. So I have an overnight once a week. And it goes amazing. And then the next month I have an overnight twice a week. And of course, it's even more amazing. And then by November, our 50-50 physical schedule is in place. We have 50-50 legal custody. And so everything is like peas and carrots. It's like, wow, that was like amazing. And we are also awarded vacation. So like, the first thing I did was we go down to Florida, take her to Disney World for her vacation. And, now I'm having all of this time with our child where it's like, where was this time before?
Right.
So now I'm like, everything is great. Got 50-50. By the time our child was 2 years old, basically got 50-50. And my whole point is like, in the beginning, is like, I wanted to fight, especially when she was born. I wanted to fight like hell, just so that by the time she's 5 years old, the fighting is done.
Right.
Like, get some kind of normalcy. And you think the fighting is over, and it's not over. So you get. Sorry, Jack, I can keep going if you want, but I'll let you say if you want to interject.
This is exactly what I want the show to be. I want to hear stories. I want to hear the story. We talk about it.
So you think that this is like the end of it,
So
like,
I do have one question.
Okay, shoot.
When you got the 50-50 agreement in place that day in court, did they reduce your child support because the time would be split 50-50, or were you still required to pay the amount of child support as
So
if the child was with her
all right, so
7 days a week?
you're getting, where this is going then. So
Yeah.
it's not adjusted immediately, because child support and parenting.
I'm still listening. I think there's something at my door.
Yeah, go ahead. So here's the thing, okay? And this is done on purpose. They do this on purpose. Child support and parenting time are correlated, but they're not related. They're correlated because child support is technically based on how much time the child is with each parent.
Right.
But they're not related, because it's all the technical definition of child support is based on the child's needs. And that happens to be, well, if the child is living with both parents equally, the needs should be split equally, that this parent can take care of, this parent can.
Right.
Usually, only in scenarios in which a huge disparity in income, there's a huge disparity in income, is child support awarded, right? Usually. So, once we have this 50-50 custody arrangement, the judges, we're still asking questions. Like, this is kind of a regular hearing. It's not a trial. Excuse me. And the judge is like, well, my questions are kind of leading into child support. And the judge is probably like, well, I imagine that's probably going to be your next motion, is to modify child support. And this is where the story gets even crazier.
That's where it starts getting messy.
well, it got messy with it got messy in one way with false allegations and
Right.
going through this domestic violence thing, and that was completely messy in itself as well. But it's a whole different kind of mess. So I then file another motion. So also during this time, during these other scenario, or this time of like the custody and stuff, I file because she now also, like, before I get 50-50 custody, I file because she's violating the court order. She's violating it at like 30 times. She hasn't put me on the birth certificate even though the judge just told her to. So while in this moment, in this time where I can't file for overnights, I'm filing to enforce the court order. Granted, at this time I'm only getting 17 hours a week, which is like no time with your
No.
child, and it's supervised. So I now am spending. We both had attorneys for both of these because we had two trials in this time. We spent probably $20,000 plus combined, probably more, just to enforce the court order so that I could get an additional 81 hours of made up parenting time. I'm going to say that again. We had to spend over $20,000 for a trial for 81 hours of made up parenting time. So now we've quantified how much our child's hourly rate is, right? 81 hours divided that by about $20,000 divided by 81. We know how much it costs per hour.
Yeah,
And this is her
I
violation.
spent over $20,000 fighting for custody.
Well, no, this is for make up parenting time. This is to enforce the court order.
So this is $20,000 just to enforce things.
Just to get made, because she violated over 30 times, which equated to almost 81 hours of parenting time that she violated. So
$20,000 because
for
wow.
now, at the same time, I still have to pay this inflated child support,
Right.
right? And I'm losing all the time that it's supposed to be calculated. We asked for sanctions. We asked for her to pay my attorney's fees, and the judge found her purposely thwarting her and her mother purposely thwarting my time. And they weren't, even though they were purposely doing it. I didn't get sanctions out of it. She didn't have to pay my attorney's fees, and I still had to pay all the money for the trial just to get 81 hours and the child support.
That's
Now,
positively fucked.
a month later, now she's still now she but this is also having a court order. She has a court order. I wish you is there a way you could see my screen here? Like,
I don't know how.
so there's a court order before this enforcement that says if she keeps doing this, she will be sanctioned. And we brought this up in trial, and the judge, and this is a good judge too, the judge still did not award sanctions in this hearing, in this trial. Did not punish her in any way whatsoever. Did nada. So now this leads into a month later. She violates the court order again. She keeps her from me for another 2 weeks. I enforce the court order. I ask for sanctions. She still doesn't get sanctioned. But another violation, another whole slew of violation. Then we end up getting 50-50 parenting time. So while I can't file for overnights, I'm filing to enforce the order that she keeps violating.
Right.
Right. So now we're essentially caught up to 50-50 physical custody, and this is where it gets a lot. It gets crazy here. So my next filing is a modification of child support, right? I'm also asking for her to have my last name. So at this time, our child still doesn't have my last name. I'm asking my last name to be added not to the birth certificate because that was already done, but her to actually legally have my last name. I'm asking her to go to school so we can enroll her in preschool. I'm
Right.
asking her to have immunizations so that she can go to preschool because school state law and state code is children need to be immunized in order to go to school.
That I want to hit that real quick. That's so important. The
Yes.
immunizations. We had numerous kids that got measles
Yeah.
because there's not enough. There's so many parents that aren't immunizing their children.
Right. So,
Measles is coming back. It was eradicated
oh
for
right.
years. And it's
So
spreading now just because people aren't immunizing their kids. Immunization is so important. I
so
just wanted
so
to hit that because
I,
it's so.
I agree. Trust me, I just had a trial just last Thursday. I had this trial, but so I also file for her to have a passport so that we can travel.
Right.
I know you don't know too much about me. I'm a professional dancer. I teach ballroom dancing, and I own my business is here in New Jersey. So traveling is a big part of what I do. And
That
so
sounds awesome.
yeah, and so being able to travel with our child is like she should be able to travel. So I filed for all five of these things at the end of 2023.
Right.
In fact, the exact filing date is September 18th, 2023. I filed for all five of these issues. At the end of 2023, we have a trial now. We're another trial. Another trial. Trials are expensive, very
Yeah.
expensive. But we only have a trial on my last name. So she forces a trial, and I have to prove why it's in our child's best interest to have to have my last name. And now you know how trials technically work. Like you give testimony, and the opposition gives their argument and testimony, right?
Right.
So she forces this trial. We go to trial. I make a great argument. Her attorney cross-examines me, and then the day is over, so we have to do day 2 for trial, right? So we go to day 2 of trial, and they rest. She doesn't want to give testimony. She doesn't want to argue. They believe that I didn't overcome the burden of proof, so she didn't even feel like her attorney was like, "You can't argue. You can't." You don't. Most importantly, they knew that if she testified on cross examination, we would destroy her argument completely. So they needed to rely on that we didn't achieve our burden of proof because they knew that if they testified, we would have overcame and destroyed her credibility. So, but she was able to force another trial, simply because she doesn't have to cooperate. Just, I'm not going to cooperate. Force him to argue, and then let the court make a decision. So, court makes a decision, but we don't get the decision immediately. The court's like, okay, we're going to relist this because we want to hear child support in March. So now it's 2024. We want to hear this in March. So 3 months later, we're finally going to hear the child support argument, which is 6 months from when I initially filed. March comes, no hearing scheduled, no nothing. I'm like, so my attorney's reaching out, hey, we need to relist the case. Nothing's happening. So then and at the same time, this is when we find out about these heinous allegations from all of 5 different doctors. So we're still researching and investigating all of these allegations, but we still can't get our case relisted. So I sideline my attorney. I'm like, listen, I'm just going to sideline you. I know how to do a lot of these motions. So we're 7 or 8 months in. I file a motion to hear the previous motion, which is kind of bizarre, but I had to file a motion to hear the initial motion because if I refiled the motion, it would refile child support calculations, and child support calculations are based onto your original motion. So I had to file a motion to hear the motion that was based on the previous year, which was 7 months ago at this point in time. It gets ignored. I finally am like, you know what? I think we have our investigations really well. I think we have all the information we need so I file for full legal custody now. I think we have a great argument. She made all of these false allegations, a lot of heinous allegations. Again, allegations that men get killed in prison for. These heinous allegations. I file for full legal custody, trying to get this case relisted yet again. We finally get a judge. It's a different judge now. And this judge hears this case. And he's like, okay, well, we're going to schedule this for a trial. We're now a year after I filed the initial motion for child support, schooling, immunizations, the last name. And at this time, we also get the judge awarded my last name. The judge 7-page court order, basically bashing the other party and basically awarding my last name.
I feel like to any dad, that's a win, though. That's a great feeling.
It was a huge victory, a huge victory. But now we have all of these motions still pending. We have the initial motion pending, my motion to hear a motion pending, my full legal custody motion pending. This judge now schedules a trial He schedules it out for a year, almost a year and a half after now. Like we're a year and a half past when all of these decisions still need to be made. I still waiting on a modification of child support. Like a year and a half later, and I'm still forced to pay this exuberant amount of money, and I'm the only one equitably contributing to our child.
Right.
The judge schedules a trial. Then he cancels the trial in lieu of us going to this mediator. Now we have to pay like $3,000 to go to this new mediator in addition to paying our attorneys to mediate with this attorney mediator. That fails. We both agree to things in mediation. As soon as mediation ends, I give her what I agree to give to her. She fires her attorney and doesn't give me the things that we agree to. So now I have to I file a motion to compel her to give me all of these documents. Like, you have to give me these documents that we agreed on if we're going to come up with a child support calculation. She refused to do it. I file this motion to.
I'm assuming, just for clarification for people that might not know, it's like the asset list, the pay stubs, all that kind of stuff, like the documentation for income.
It's anything that we agree to in mediation at this moment.
Right.
Right. And so she doesn't give everything over. So now we have this motion to compel. Then we're trying to relist the case again. Like a month or two goes by, and it's like, why is this case? This is now the beginning of 2025. Why is this case not being relisted? And so the judge then finally makes a hearing, files a hearing. We both have attorneys, and he refuses. The same judge refuses to have anything on the record. We're there thinking all these other decisions are going to be made. He's only arguing child support right now. The attorneys are only arguing child support. That's it. But he's not letting any information be on the record. He sets out some mediation again in the same court day. Doesn't work. Goes back. Chambers. They finally get to a point where the attorney's like, we need you to make a decision. Like, we need a hearing. And he's like, okay, we'll come back after lunch and we'll have a hearing. And we're like, great. Lunch. We come back from lunch. Judge is like, Chambers again doesn't have anything on the record. Comes back out. The attorneys come out of chambers, and my attorney tells me, Chris, if you don't agree to a child support number, if you don't agree to a number, not even having a fair trial, if you don't agree to a number, the judge is going to put you in jail every weekend until you're caught up with child support. And I'm like, no, I'm not agreeing. That's up to you, Chris.
He's trying to force your hand and force you to do something.
I literally walk into the courtroom to interrupt the judge, and the judge sends me out. No, get out of here. Sends me out. I tell Scott, no, I'm not agreeing to anything. They go back in the courtroom, goes back to chambers. My client's not going to agree, but her client's also not agreeing. Comes back out. He just told me one last time, if you don't agree to a number, I don't care what number, you're going to go to jail. And I don't know what they were threatening her with, but we both come in and we're like, you know what? We just have to get this over with. Like, he's going to force our hand. So they agree to numbers. So now this goes on the record. They're agreeing to these numbers, whatever terms that that we said. It's just numbers, and that her attorney's like, can you make sure you put all of this in detail in the court order? And the judge is like, yep, I'll put all of that in detail in the court order. Don't worry. We'll make sure everything's documented. We finally get the court order. Did he put anything in the court order? Nope. He didn't put a single thing. We're now locked up, and now we're like, okay, we have to correct these numbers. So now our attorneys are going back and forth trying to correct these numbers. And at this point, like, as attorneys are going back and forth, I'm like, you know what? This wasn't right. I file a complaint against this judge with the judicial board. And as like we're still trying to go back and forth, it's like, listen, just agree to this number. This is what the math says. She fires her attorney again and just refuses to cooperate. So after a little bit of time, I finally get a letter saying that this judge now is being investigated for judicial misconduct. Good. So now I have a letter. And so the next thing I do, I'm like, you know what? Like, my attorney, I have a great attorney, and he's a friend for a long time, but I can do a lot of the documenting and the filing myself. I sidelined him again. I'm like, Scott, I'm going to sideline you again. I'm going to file this motion to recuse. So
Well,
I
you learning how to do that stuff and filing the motions yourself and knowing how to do all that, you save
that
yourself thousands of dollars.
that was the biggest key, honestly. Like learning
Yeah.
how to do it. It's a whole all a learning process. But once you can learn to do it and you put the time, it's worth it. It really, really is. So then I sideline my attorney and I file a motion to recuse this judge. All right. So I file an emergency motion to recuse, and I file an emergency motion for schooling and immunizations because schooling at this point is now starting in a month. Like,
Right.
granted, don't forget, I filed this motion 2 years ago to get her in daycare and to get immunized, and 2 years have passed without a single decision. And so now I file an emergency hearing and a motion to recuse. But I filed the motion to recuse with the emergency motion, and the recusal part was, if you're familiar with how to recuse a judge or the process is, the judge you have to make the argument to the judge to their face why they need to recuse themselves. Well, when I filed this motion, this emergency motion, and this recusal, the other party is now aware that this judge is under investigation, and the judge now is aware that he's being investigated. And of course, I'm aware because I'm a filing. So all parties are aware this judge is being investigated because of our case. So there's no way this judge he could be unbiased at this point, or that's not the word, impartial. He can't be impartial at this point.
Right.
So the emergency hearing is in front of a new judge, right? So now at this moment, I'm like, okay, I now have all but gotten confirmation that this judge has recused himself behind the scenes. So now this judge is like, okay, emergency motion. He denies my motion, but he reschedules our hearing. He reschedules our hearing with him, a conference hearing, just so he can get caught up on the case for 2 weeks. So in 2 weeks we have a conference hearing, and then he gets caught up in the case, and in 2 weeks from there, and in that motion or in that hearing, I actually withdraw. I withdraw the recusal because it's unnecessary now. Like, we don't need to have another motion clogging up the system. I withdraw that motion, and that he also takes the next trial, which just happened last Thursday. And in that trial, essentially, this trial, even though there's a lot of issues that I've said already here, the only issues that he dealt with in trial were schooling and immunizations. And in a nutshell, I gave my argument, I gave evidence in that trial, and the bottom line is she didn't give, like, at the end of trial, the judge is like, you didn't give a defense. She didn't defend it. She didn't defend why she shouldn't go to the school. She didn't give a religious exemption or religious reasons why she shouldn't be immunized. And so now we're just waiting for that court order so that I can now move forward. But school started now. Our child is essentially starting school late, whenever she's starting. So that's kind of where I'm at. You're essentially caught up on my case for the most part. Like, that's like most of it. Still waiting on these other motions to be heard, still waiting on legal custody to be heard, still waiting on all of these other things to be heard. But we had a trial for immunizations and schooling on Thursday. The judge is like, I'm not going to shoot from the hip. I'm going to take a little bit of time, but I understand that she needs to be in school, so I'm going to try to make this quick.
I don't understand why she would fight on immunizations in school when, as the mother to y'all's daughter, she should want her to be immunized and in school.
Well, she was fighting it under a religious objection.
A false
But,
one?
well, but that's the thing, is like, she had her opportunity in trial to make her religious argument,
And she
and
didn't have one.
she
And
didn't
see,
say any.
the religious exemption process and the accommodations process is something that I'm accustomed to
Right.
because I've had to do it numerous times to include where I work and filing different documents and such like that with the court. And I help soldiers do the same thing for religious exemptions. Uh, it's not a difficult process to do. And for the most part, they have to take you at your word for it. Now, for court and things like that, you have to have evidence to back you up and things to support your claim of this religious exemption and accommodation. But the process for it is not a difficult one. You have people in the state of Georgia that worship the god of spaghetti, and I'm not saying that as a joke. It's funny, but it's serious. They come in and they have to take their driver's license picture wearing a strainer on their head. This is
Yeah,
a
I've seen
real
those pictures.
religion.
You have to show me. That's
I
crazy.
will send it to you when we're done.
I hope
It's a
so.
real thing, but government entities have to give those accommodations, and it doesn't make sense on if she was actually going to do that seriously and she was trying to be taken seriously. The argument could have been rather simple, but instead it was very obvious at that point that she was just trying to use it to throw a monkey wrench in things.
Well, I had known about her wanting to use a religious exemption since our child was born. I knew it. Going to the pediatrician's office, she wouldn't allow her to be immunized. So I knew that my fight was to fight this religious exemption, and so we had come up the best thing was that the best evidence that we really found, because in New Jersey, like they do a really new, and I hope this isn't everywhere, but New Jersey does a really good job keeping things in a gray area. Like there isn't real case law in New Jersey regarding a religious exemption. The only New Jersey relevant case law that we found, which was super relevant, but it was in 2015, and it was in 2000, so it's pretty recent, and it was an appellate court decision, and the court decided to not let it be. I don't want to say public, but it wasn't necessarily in the public domain. So it specifically said, in order to have this document or this case law be heard, you have to ask permission in order for it to be relevant. Because normally, if you have case law, you just send it. In your brief, and that's your that's those are rules that you're following.
Right.
But this specific case, and it's the only one that we could find. All the other case law we found was like Massachusetts and I think like Pennsylvania or something that we were trying to use that matched or somewhat matched my case. So we filed a brief trying to explain that case law, but most importantly, like we were just trying to use the state code. It's state law, state code that children need to be immunized. So that's our basis right there. And then once we had our basis that she needed to be immunized, now it was all about attacking her credibility. Now it was okay, well, she says she wants a religious exemption. Well, we were never married. You know, I'm pretty sure having children out of wedlock is against her religion. So
Against most religions
we
or
were
Abrahamic religions.
we were specifically what's called an FD case, which is like it's a case that has nothing to do with marriage or divorce.
Right.
So that was like our first thing. The second thing is we had to prove like she doesn't want immunizations because of a religious issue. But when our child was born, she was given an immunization. She was given a hepatitis immunization. So now we're like, okay, she's inconsistent. Not only did she have an immunization when she was born, but we were never married when we were having our child. We never agreed to any kind of vows or anything like that. So these were like the pillars. Oh, and of course I tried, using like her taking so many antibiotics, but the judge wasn't hearing that. The judge was like, he didn't care about that. So those were the basis of our arguments. We had some case law, which could or couldn't be taken. We had the state law and the state code, which was the code. That's the law. She needs to be immunized. And we had her kind of discredited a little bit. Like, you're not married, so you're child of wedlock. I guess that's the issue with religion and trying to fight their argument is there's the born again thing where you can always just start like, oh, now I'm this religion now.
Yep.
And like you said, as long as you can be credible and you're honest about it, like it's hard to overcome that. How do you prove that somebody is not religious in that moment? Like it's like
Right.
you basically have to like say, no, you're not religious right now because yesterday didn't matter. Yesterday you could commit a crime and ask for forgiveness, and all of a sudden now you're born again. And like so, it's like how do you prove in that moment? It's not something it's very easy to overcome, and it's even like kind of like saying it out loud now and having this extra dialogue makes it sound even more absurd.
It
It's weird.
it but it's a valid point. It is a valid point that can be made because it like you said, all they have to do is come in there and say, "Well, I'm a born again." I don't know if I have a religion podcast. I don't care. All they have to do is come and say, "I'm a born again Christian," and everything previous to that can be wiped clean.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing. So, like with my accommodation process for my religious beliefs, because I'm a pagan, it has a very vast amount of things that it can be. But I have to prove consistency. so that I can still receive my accommodation. But there's nothing stopping me from saying, oh, so like right now I'm a Norse pagan. In a couple months, I could just be like, oh, well, now I'm a Celtic pagan. There's nothing that they can prove or disprove because one, most people have no idea what either of those things are, and nothing's stopping me from doing that, and they can't disprove that. But say I have these religious accommodations for being a pagan, and all of a sudden I decide I want to be a Christian again. I can just pop up and say I'm a born again Christian, and nobody can have an argument for that. And the
Absolutely, you can
same
say I
thing
was
goes for
rebaptized at
just
this
about
church.
anybody.
Yeah. Now, and this is my thing. Like, I'm very open to religions. I'm not necessarily religious myself, but I'm very open to structure and religion. So, um, my hanging point with it is like being religion. I think is very valuable. Having religion is very valuable in general for values for a lot of things. If it's not going to interfere with science, we all know, like, you can say that you don't want an immunization because of your religion, but we also know that these immunizations, whatever people might believe, they're safe.
Right.
These immunizations are safe. With these childhood immunizations to go to school, they're safe. You can't disprove that. It's so many things have been scientifically debunked. So
Yeah,
like when
and
somebody's
most
like,
most people don't understand the process that goes into these immunizations either, because so many, especially now after COVID, when they think of an immunization, they think of the COVID
yeah,
vaccine,
COVID
and they don't
happened.
understand the amount of write-offs and the things that were just either swept under the rug. They didn't care; they were just trying to get it out there, and the testing processes and the trial and error processes that go just into an actual immunization takes years. It's not a
Yeah,
fast process like the COVID-19 where they were like, oh, these side effects are minuscule to compared to people
but
dying.
the understanding of that COVID's I don't think you can actually say that on YouTube or where you're going to post this, by the way. That I'm pretty sure
Yeah, I
the
don't
thing
care.
that they need to is like that vaccine was purposely pushed forward because of how many people were actually dying were around the world. Like it really was something that most people didn't understand. See, the thing is like, and again, I'm not an expert, but I do know I've definitely done some research. Is the COVID virus has always existed. It's
Always.
usually existed within animals though.
Right.
It's never really existed, and it's a rare scenario in which it's existed in humans. And the reason they call it COVID is because it's standing for crowns, and these crowns on this virus change constantly. That's why we have so many variations, and the virus it evolves so quickly. So you know we wanted to the people the world needed to rush something out. I'm not saying I support the vaccine in any
Right.
capacity, or I'm not saying I'm for it or against it. I'm just saying it was a necessity. Like, everyone needed it. We needed something, if anything, a peace of mind to show, like, hey, the government, the world is doing something against about this. You could have arguments to the validity of it, and I mean, I love doing stuff like that, but um, you know it was rushed. Immunizations for kids, they are tested time and time and time. Like, they work, they're necessary. Have you ever seen like those pictures of like the baby graveyards before immunizations but that existed? Like, there's baby graveyards all over the place because
Well,
we
people
had.
people love arguing things, but most people don't understand what an infant mortality rate is, or an infant. Well, they don't understand the statistics behind anything anyway,
Right.
and they love arguing based off things that they see on Facebook.
Oh, that's the worst.
It's the absolute
It
worst.
is the worst.
Now, did I want to get that? No, I didn't. And
Right.
to be honest, it wasn't because of whether I was sick or not. I had had it numerous times. I didn't honestly. I didn't want to get it because they were telling me to get it. I'm not going to lie to you.
You're
And it became a
against the
huge
system.
thing at where I worked because and people got fired over it.
Right. Oh,
Now
I'm
later,
very aware.
a lot of people did, and I'll tell you where I work after we're not recording, but a lot of people got fired over it, and then they had to rehire them. And let me tell you, some of the people that got fired and then rehired made me wish I'd gotten fired and rehired because they made it out like bandits, and I'm
Yeah,
kind of
they got
mad
fired.
about it.
They filed unemployment. They got like buku bucks. They got to sit on their couch for months.
and then they got rehired at they went from here to here, and it's really aggravating.
Oh, I'm sorry, brother. That sounds
But
terrible.
it's the way of the game. I ended up just getting it because I was just like, I got kids, it's not worth it.
Yeah,
Turns out later on down the road, it definitely would have been worth it. But
would have been worth it for sure.
that's the way things are.
Well, I mean, again, even there's so much there's so much misinformation about that, and whether it was supposed to prevent it or make it less or whatever it was. But yeah, I definitely understand your perspective there.
Yeah, it from a perspective of a parent, it sucks that you had to fight just for immunizations and to get her in school because she missed like that preschool time, just starting preschool in that early learning process, and then pre-K, and now she's 5. That missed learning development time just because, just
So
simply just because it sounds like just to make things difficult really sucks. And
the
I feel like a judge would see that and just be like, why would this be something that's in contempt?
well, the thing is like the hardest part is more her socializing
Right,
and not
exactly.
necessarily her academics. She's super bright. You know, she did testing this past Monday, not yesterday, but the Monday before, and she tested out of kindergarten. She's testing at a first grade level. Her issue
Right.
is the socializing. You know, she was
It's
born
hard.
during COVID, so for
Yeah.
2 years during COVID, there was very little interaction. Now
Right.
and ever since you know I had filed for the daycare preschool, like she's not able to go because of immunization. So the majority of her life is hanging around adults. She
Right.
doesn't hang around kids. So when you put her and you see her in a kid setting, it's weird. You can
Right.
see that there's not a lot of socialization and how she's awkward. And not don't get me wrong, she definitely like tries, and
Yeah.
she tries to like command. She's like everyone. And it's like everyone needs to follow her. She tries to be the leader because she doesn't understand that everyone does that. Like so,
Yeah.
it's interesting. It's the socializing that is the most, I think, the most crucial. The
It
education,
is.
she's going to get educated no matter what.
Agreed.
I feel like with all things being equal when it comes to schools, and she's going to get educated. But you know, it's the socializing that was the most crucial in that instance, for sure.
I think that's definitely a very important part. The academic things aside, socializing and getting kids accustomed to being around other kids is a really important thing before they start school. That's one of the reasons why, besides the fact that I was a swing shift worker when my first son was born, besides that fact, one of the reasons why I even put him in a preschool and daycare, because I had a village. I didn't, it wasn't really a necessity. And his mom wasn't working. But it was something that I wanted to do for that socialization aspect and for the academic aspect. But mainly that socialization because he was the only kid. And out of my entire friend group and friends and family, I was the only one at the time that had a kid. I was the one that started the domino effect in my family and friends, you would say.
It's your fault.
Um,
You gave the girls the bug.
yep, yep. And they and my buddy Derek's gonna hear this and he's gonna laugh. I was like, thankfully, my friends decided to have kids around the same time later on. There's an age gap, but all my friends started having children, and consistently since then, we've all had kids around the same time. So we've had a village of kids around the same age. So socializing has just always been a thing, but I think it's not talked about enough, especially for kids that are individual kids, how that social aspect really comes into things and how important it is in their lives and their development from that early childhood age and forward, being able to understand how to interact with other kids.
Yeah, I totally agree. And you know, it's like it's making me a little bit nervous her first day of school going into this classroom setting where you know this will be the first time like mommy and daddy are not going to be with her for
Right.
hours. You know, she's always with one of us. So like this is going to be the first time it's like where is my safety? Where's my security at? Where's my bodyguards at? Like
Yeah.
where are the people that are supposed to be with me? You
Yeah.
know,
You're not
that
alone, Dad. I feel like every parent has that feeling.
I do kind of vaguely remember me starting school and like even very little in kindergarten. Like I have a rather vivid memory from that because like when I was in kindergarten I had broken my leg. I got hit by a drunk driver, so I have a lot of like very clear memories of being in kindergarten. And so like I remember like starting kindergarten and being so like unsure of like what is going on. And so
Yeah,
you
it's
know
chaos. Even for
yeah,
kids, it's chaos.
chaos. So I'm only imagining what she's thinking or what she's going to think. She's still, her on her side, she still asks me, "Daddy, am I going to get shushed soon?" It's like this is not stuff that you should be thinking about. But
It it's a
that happens
wild
first.
that's something that I feel like I don't think anybody really talks about that. And I think it's just the difference in the day and age. But it's so easy to accidentally, or for kids to accidentally be exposed to that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because it could be as simple as you watching the news on your phone and your kid be next to you and they hear about, or I'm going to have to bleep that one out for sure.
Yeah, sure.
Uh, but it's so easy for them to see all these different news articles and hear all these different things. And now all of a sudden they have anxiety and they don't even understand what really happened. They don't understand what's going on. But it's the same thing like, you know, 9/11 was, we just had 9/11 and they showed a little bit of stuff at my son's school, not a lot. He's only in second grade. Um, so it was more one of those kids' educational memorial videos. But he came home and he was asking us like, "Hey, what was it?" And we showed him. We told him what happened and we explained it. And then after that, he was scared.
Mm,
And I was just like, "Buddy, it's something you have to be aware of, but it's not something that you need to be in constant fear of."
yeah.
And we explained like that's what they want. That was what they did these things, these horrible things for. And but you're safe. You don't have to be afraid. But at the same time, another example of like my son being scared of things that he shouldn't even really know about would be like my job. He tells me all the time, like, "Dad, you need a new job." And I'm like, "Why, buddy?" He's like, "Because it's dangerous and I want you to always come home to me."
Oh,
And I was just like, "All right, tug at my heartstrings, kid, but I can't quit my job."
well, he's doing his
Uh,
job. He's doing his
yeah,
job.
yeah, he's freaking good at it. And
Oh,
explaining to them, it's not something you have to worry about. You don't have to fear those things. But kids notice so much more than we give them credit for. And it's especially obvious in kids that have like childhood trauma and things. Like my son, he
mhm.
picks up on things so fast. So fast. Vibes, the way people act, the way people treat others, all those kind of things. It's just something he grabs onto. And when it comes to like news and things that you wouldn't think a kid would be worried about or even be conscious about or know about, my 8-year-old is constantly shocking me. And I'll ask him, like, "Where'd you hear that?" He's just like, "Oh, my teachers were talking about it in the hallway while I was walking by." And it's
Oh.
just like, "Oh, great. Well, they shouldn't be, first of all." But it's so simple. It could be the simplest thing, and your kid hears it, and now their brain is running with it, and their imagination is vivid, and now they're scared of something that they shouldn't even have on their little shoulders in the first place.
Do you email these teachers like, listen, I just heard about your business from my son,
He
and he's a
doesn't even know their names, or I would.
oof.
He has
Oh
no
yeah.
idea.
You can you make like a post on the school page. I just learned this about some of the teachers there from my son. I'm not too
Yeah,
sure if this is everyone's business, but I know about it, so you should all know about it.
exactly. Like y'all need to remember. I know y'all know these kids are listening to you. They hear everything you're talking about.
Yeah.
It happens all the time. Real quick.
I my we are in the situation. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
We're in a situation where we're in between homes. We're buying a place, and so we gave up my place. And in the meantime, we're staying with my significant other's family until we close on our place. And so this is a really big house, but like her dad like set my whole computer setup in the basement next to his office, which is like really awesome and amazing. But like so I tried to position the camera so because if people are walking back and forth behind me, they can still get to work and stuff as well.
Oh yeah. I ordered a coffee and they didn't give me a straw. And it was a frappuccino.
Wait,
So
hold on. Oh, I was like, wait, you use a straw for coffee?
yeah, I drink so I'll drink hot coffee at work. Like Folger, we just drink Folgers and stuff. But I'm not gonna lie. One thing that is left over from my children's mom is I love a Starbucks Frappuccino, man.
Oh boy,
It's it's
calories.
it it throws my macro count off all the time.
I imagine you can have that and only that the rest of the day.
Just protein the rest of the day. Yeah,
Yes.
but you know
Uh,
what? It's a chocolate coffee milkshake, and it's so good. And I get extra espresso in it. It's
I'm drinking water. I actually, when I went up, I was like, you know what? Maybe I'll have a coffee. But they only make enough coffee for however many cups they're gonna drink. They never make extra coffee, which is what I'm used to doing. So instead of drinking coffee, I normally just drink pre-workout in the morning because then I work out and go to the gym and stuff, and it kind of gets me jittering. But I do miss the taste of coffee. Like I definitely enjoy coffee. Not a frappuccino though. That's too much. Oh my gosh. I would be like
pretty big.
bouncing.
I get a big one.
I'd be like this all over the place, jittery.
No, there's a place here called Seven Brew.
Okay.
I don't know how far throughout the U.S. they go, but they have a coffee, and you can make it a triple seven, and it has it's 7 or 10 shots of espresso,
Whoa.
and I drink that, and I'm smiling the whole time. I'm so happy.
Because you're like because you take two sips of it and you can already see bedtime.
Exactly.
You're like
It's
looking into the future. You're so ready to go.
oh, it's so good.
That's funny.
But you said y'all are waiting to close on a house. Is that what you
Yeah.
said? Yeah,
Hmm.
congratulations. That's a big thing, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Just so much going on. It's so
Yeah.
weird coming back to the court stuff and the family stuff. Like literally, like this court stuff is truly like a full-time job. Like it's a full-time job keeping up with just trying to get one decision made after another and after and I honestly I imagine that most guys, even though most guys or most people, let's we can keep it neutral, most people go through something similar. I think that most people have like a breaking point where it's like, okay, listen, let's just stop fighting, let's just agree to do this because there's other things in life to do, right?
Right.
People, like parents, can't just keep fighting over their children over and over and over and over again, right? See, I'm in a situation where I'm not co-parenting with the parent, I'm co-parenting with the grandmother. So all the co-parent has to do is not say or do anything. And it forces decision, 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 decision. Like, yeah, let's just say, like the doctors, for example. I have to force the hand of going to a pediatrician just instead of going to, because like she was going to like every single, what was it? Like every like urgent care, like you're sure familiar, like just a walk-in. She's going to a walk-in like 2 or 3 times a week, complaining about just random things. So like I finally was like, oh, she's going to have a wellness check at the office that she chose. I was like, I'll agree. This is where she should be. It'll be the one that you choose. But then when I went there, they're like, oh, we're not listed as the primary. I was like, no, you need to be listed as the primary because she needs to have her wellness check right now. Forced her to put that pediatrics office as the primary. But the weird thing is she didn't have a primary. Like because she kept going to like holistic nurse practitioners in urgent care, like she didn't need a primary. And it's like,
Right.
no, she needs to have a primary doctor
You
so
got to
that we
have a
can
primary
track.
care.
And so well, my significant other, like she, and that's another topic as well that could be really beneficial. But what we did is we compiled every single medical document, put it in chronological order with all the different places, and I gave it to the primary health physician. I was like, scan this this is her entire medical record. So now they have everything, because if they're going to be the primary, they should have everything. Instead
Right.
of like them being like, this is all over the place, they can then say, oh, you gave this to us. We can look at it and now we'll know. But
Medical decision, and I feel like not a lot of dads, or I'll say dads, because moms tend to think about medical stuff a lot more than dads, because when most dads just don't go to the damn doctor. And that's a whole other discussion of itself. But um, one of the biggest things that I had to fight for was medical decision making.
yeah,
And I had to fight for that early on, because it was an argument about the pediatrician. It was an argument about the dentist. It was an argument about uh,
now,
where he was going to go.
is Georgia a
And
50-50 state
no,
for legal custody? For legal custody, no.
no, most of the time the woman gets the primary custody. They get sole decision making. They control everything. Most dads get what's called secondary custodial rights, and that just means that we have rights, but we don't have decision making.
You got to get out of Georgia. Just go a little bit to Florida. They just
I
passed
would say
50-50.
it's getting better, and that's another thing about my case that's different too. But so I had to fight for medical decision making, because in his biological mom's care, he wasn't getting proper medical care, and also he ended up getting a diaper rash that was so bad he developed MRSA.
Hmm.
And for people that don't know what MRSA is, it's a antibiotic resistant staph infection, and it can 100% kill you.
Did he have surgery for anything, or?
Yes. Yeah, they had to go in, they had to cut the infection out, and there were drain tubes and everything like that. And I was the one that saw it. I noticed what it was. I rushed him to the children's hospital and got it dealt with, thankfully. Uh and it was I ended up I think I had to go back to day shift. And so I took him back to her because I had to. um, Explained to her how to keep it clean, what the drain tubes were, the whole nine. And I was like, you have to keep him clean. He has to. If you see a faint blue line on that diaper, you changed his butt. That kind of thing. I got him back when I got off of work the next day. Went to change his diaper. His diaper was full, and he still had shit on his ass.
Wow.
And I took pictures, and I immediately went and filed medical decision making, an emergency motion. And that's where things started getting messy. That's where I really started buckling down and fighting for uh, more custody, to be the primary custodian, decision making, things like that. But and so a unique thing that is with me, the judge that handled my court case with my parents for
Like,
custody over me and my sister.
wow.
And I can tell you that was a clusterfuck. Uh,
Wow.
and I believe he's retired now, but he was getting investigated for many of the court things, as far as family court goes. But in Georgia, especially some of these old time judges, that they're still very much the Southern Christian Bible Belt type policy, or
Hmm.
what those
Very
judges want it to
conservative.
be. Very conservative. And a lot of times, if it's just a single dad, they won't win primary or decision making and things like that. But if that same dad is married now, it'll be a whole different ball game. It's a very biased thing that happens
That's
a lot of times.
a little
It
bizarre.
I just like the way your face went. What? Exactly.
It's
It
like,
doesn't.
wait.
It doesn't make sense. It's one of those Southern Bible Belt things that just doesn't compute most of the time.
Now, you've used PPR and like how she's the primary, you're the secondary, like so. And once you have like legal, and I totally get why that would work like that, where like if you're the PPR, you're the parent primary resident. So, but if you have 50-50 legal custody, technically you're supposed to be able to make equal decisions. But I'm guessing PPR in Georgia gives her the tiebreaker where it's like, well, if you can't agree,
Right.
I'm going to. It's my
Exactly.
decision is what matters.
Yep.
You see, like in New Jersey, like people there is the parents are primary resident as well. But when you have 50-50 legal custody, like I haven't seen it used in this manner where like in that manner where it's like, okay, well, she gets to decide because she's the PPR. Like I haven't seen it used. The only thing that it's actually counted towards the right at the moment is like the child technically will go to the school district of the PPR, which is something that I'm not fighting, and it's weighed in the child support calculation. Those are really the only two things that I've noticed with the PPR. And for me, like what I wanted to do is I wanted to file to remove the PPR. If we both have 50-50, we
It
don't
should be
need it. We don't
50-50.
need it randomly just to be on your side just because of child support. Neither of us could be labeled the PPR, right? I'm not fighting for her to go to the district that the mother lives in. That's the best district. So I'm like, she'll go to that school. So like, there's no reason to have PPR here in New Jersey if you're sharing equally 50-50 with physical and legal custody, and if you can agree. But it's like,
In most cases that I've heard, and I talk to a lot of dads, especially in Georgia, because it's one of the places where it's where I live. Um, the only time that I've seen dads get 50, like true 50-50, is when both parties agree to it.
right.
And sometimes it happens mediated in court, but the initial ruling after legitimization, in most cases, unless it's one of those situations where the dad can prove that he's the better parent to be the primary.
Mm-hmm.
Um, After legitimization, the mother gets the primary custodial parent, where the child lives with them most of the time. They have the we'll just call it the tiebreaker decision making. So even if it's disagreed upon, her word is the one that makes the decision. And that's the case most of the time, unless they fight in court after that. And at that point, if child support wasn't already established in the child support court, that's the point where it's established as well, is when they make that primary and secondary decision.
Well, so now does child support automatically get filed in Georgia?
At that point, it's decided in court with the judge right there.
So in New Jersey, child support is only ever filed if if a petitioner files it. So like if nobody files for child support will never exist. But in New Jersey, they heavily talk about it and request the judge will
Of
be like,
course,
okay, is there child support involved? Child support's not involved. You don't have to file for child support. Like the judge, you'll see a judge go crazy. Like you're
it's
not
a
child. What do you
moneymaker.
What do you mean you're not child support?
Yeah,
You'll see them totally like it's so encouraged for, and it's like, oh, okay, I'll get free money now then, and
yeah.
like it's
Well,
like,
you hear it all the time, and you see it in movies, you see it on TV shows, you see it in real life. They hear, oh, you and the baby daddy or you and the baby mama broke up. When are you going to put them on child support? When are you going to get that bag? It's such it's a terrible way to put it, but it's pushed
listen,
in almost every side of our culture
it's essentially extortion at this point. There is no
every time.
like like decisions in New Jersey are based on the child's best interest, and so there is like an outline for the child's best interest. But what that really means is the judge gets to decide what the child's best interest is.
Right.
That's it.
I was just talking to a dad, and he's in Pennsylvania, and there's very few. I talk to dads all over the country and in a couple different countries as well. There's very few places that I've heard where things are so biased and so messy as in Pennsylvania, and it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of shocking. So this dad, uh, they had the child out of wedlock. She put him on child support. He filed one 50-50 they were going. He was still having to pay the full child support. Later on down the road, he filed for full custody. He won full custody. Child support's in a separate issue altogether.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't pay child support because he won full custody and got arrested. Even
Did
though
she
he won
get
full
your custody
custody.
back?
Thankfully that didn't happen. That was one of the things. He was proactive as hell because the reason he won full custody was because he was able to prove she was an unfit parent.
Right.
So when he was in jail, the kids went to the grandparents, and the grandparents were good grandparents. It wasn't one of those horror situations. And he got out of jail, got the kid back, had to fight it in court, get it expunged from his record, but his paychecks were still being garnished for that child support to the mom.
Why didn't he file for modification?
He did. It was still lost in process.
Oh, like mine for 2 years.
Yeah. So this man won full custody, got arrested, had to fight a new charge after he had won full custody, proved she was an unfit parent. She was still collecting his child support, spending it on drugs. He's the one that had to go sit in jail and keep getting his get wages garnished, all because the court process failed him.
Yeah, that is.
It's insane.
Oof.
The states that have child support courts separate from their family courts, it's like you said, it's just extortion, and it's a way to screw people over. I don't I never have seen the child support owed to me, uh, ever. Um, and I don't really care. I don't care to see it. It's
Now,
such a minuscule amount. I don't care for it. The
does
most important
Georgia
part for me was winning and getting him out of the situation he was in. That was the only goal. But
does Georgia does Georgia enforce child support automatically, or do you have to file to
you
enforce
have
it?
to file, from what I understand.
New Jersey files it, enforces it automatically. So, and this is what makes it even more extorted. This is why the situation with like me having like her already being warned that she'll be sanctioned, and then me having to pay a ton of money for a trial for violations that were purposely violated. Like I have to pay all of this money just to see our child, and she still just gets to sit back and collect all of my money. And but
Yeah,
more importantly, it's the punishments. The punishments are so severe for fathers. Like all she has to do is sit back and wait for me to go broke, and then all of a sudden I'll go to jail, and then she will get full legal custody again, and then it resets the whole process all
yeah,
over again.
it's extortion.
And and this is why, like, laws definitely need to be changed, because and we're especially in an age where fathers are being more proactive. Fathers are spending more and more time with their children than ever before.
Statistically, it's proven too. From the 60s and the 80s to the 2000s to even now in 2020s, fathers' interaction, the amount of single dads has gone up 46% in a poll taken in, I think it was 2021. And then active fathers that participate and take care of things have gone up 146% from 1980,
Wow, amazing.
which is insane.
Hmm. Yeah, laws need to change. Like, and it's like, where do we start? I mean, I think starting at those state laws, like how, what was it? There, Kentucky just Kentucky just went into like a 50-50 state, and it's now dropped divorce rates by like 25%.
Hmm.
That's like amazing statistics. Like just changing the laws help relationships. It
Yeah.
prevents people from like, oh well, I'm just going to fall back on this, fall back on
Well,
the government, fall back
I
on
think
socialism.
I think a lot of it falls on people's willingness to stand up and say, no, this is wrong. And I think it all starts with a conversation like me and you were having, which
Yeah.
is one of the reasons why I wanted to start doing these interviews. Um, because one, you run out of things to talk about in your car pretty quick. Uh, that was the original thing. I was just going to record in my car. I wasn't going to, but I started, I put out those episodes, and then, dads were messaging me and we were talking, and they were telling me their stories and sending me their stories. And there were some heavy ones. And I got like full emails of guys just venting to me and, telling me what they were going through. And I was just like, you know what? They need a platform. They need to be able to talk about what they're going through. People need to be able to voice the things they're going through and be heard and not feel alone. And that's what started me making that post. And then uh, just from that post, I don't know how many dads that want to come on here. And as you saw it, I was trying to keep up, and I was bouncing around like, when can we do it? I'm trying. I don't know.
Here's what I have, because I've done quite a few podcasts, and I've been doing this for, I think I created my channel like 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
Yeah.
The issues that I was running into is, talking like this is great, dialogue is great, but the problem is it becomes more of an echo chamber. It's like, okay, well, what do we do? How do we be productive in this conversation? How can we inspire some kind of change? What is it that needs to be done? Because oftentimes you just have people like talking about it is great, and getting the dialogue out there is great, and trying to encourage other people to do it. So what I started doing is I just started documenting and publicizing my case. So
Right.
you can go to my channel, you can see the first part of it, but only after I filed for overnights did I stop documenting it, because of it's still not resolved, and I didn't want
Right.
that to interfere with my court case.
Yeah.
But when people, and here's another really terrible thing that I keep running into, is people they want to talk about their case, they want to show it off, but who wants to come up on a podcast and say, I was indicted for pursuing rights to my child, and then talking about those details and trying to get other people to understand. We started out the podcast with that victimizing mentality, that victim mentality, and it's like when somebody hears something, especially when it comes to a female, the first instinct is to really believe. But in reality, and that's why, I'm not to take away from domestic violence, but I'm a huge proponent for. I do believe and I do think that there is real domestic violence out there, but I feel like most there are a lot of people that use silver bullet methods in family court in order to keep the upper hand, and it takes away from real victims.
Hmm.
And those are the things that need to be talked about. It's the situation where it's like, oh, I got accused, and it's usually harassment or stalking. The harassment one is usually like the father trying to participate, and the
Yeah.
mother like, oh, this is harassment. And in reality, like, you're trying to have a conversation with the mother to try to be productive. But to a cop, that's like, that's classic harassment. Let's
Yeah.
go and charge him. Let's get a
Yeah,
restraining
because
order.
all they see is all the messages and text messages and phone calls, but they don't see the fact that the reason you're texting and blowing up her phone is because it's supposed to be your weekend with your kid, and all of a sudden she's ignoring you.
Yeah. So we and this is where it becomes very biased, and this is why I say domestic violence laws need to change. And my case is a very, very good example of this. So while the opposition was accusing me of stalking her with this tracking device, saying that I was stalking her, when in reality everyone knew, I knew, she knew, that it was to keep track of our child. We are in court, in family court. We're in a family court hearing, and she's actually the one that's been outside my apartment stalking me with her mother. Like, I have videos of them outside my apartment. I have complaints about them being outside my apartment. Ring camera, them outside my apartment. She admitted under oath in family court, yes, I am stalking you. And the judge's response after hearing it was, oh, that don't need to be on the record. Did she lose custody?
Bullshit. That's exactly what needs to be on the record.
Did she lose custody? No. Did she get arrested? No. Did she get in trouble? Absolutely not. But this is a person who's accusing me of stalking her with a tracking device for our child, but has the audacity, and she feels so confident, so secure. So she knows that the court system is there to protect her and she can hide behind it. She feels so confident that she can tell the judge, yes, I am stalking her. And nothing. Nothing. This is why I asked. I was like, it'd be cool if I could share my screen, because I could totally show you. Like, yeah, and those are some of the methods, by the way. Like in New Jersey, you can order your court audio for free, and they'll send it to you, so you can listen back to what things are said and what's going on. But if you want to get the transcripts, and because like you can't use an audio for evidence, you have to use the transcript. You want to
Right.
get the transcript for that. Now you're talking anywhere from $200 to over $1,000 for a transcript.
Golly.
Like, I get most of the transcripts, that way people can see how the layout of a transcript really works too. But like it really is incredible how, like, she can, the opposition of a mother can be told she's going to be sanctioned, force all of these court fees, force all of these attorneys fees, force all of this time, and not get penalized. A father can use a tracking device to track their child. She can say that I'm, even though she told in a police report she didn't feel afraid and she knew that it was mine, and the reasons about behind it, and then she can accuse me of stalking, and then say to the court, "Oh, I'm the one stalking him," and nothing happens. But these are the stories that fathers don't want. Like, they don't want that to be out in the public. Like, it's
Right.
hard to say that. But this tends to be the cornerstone of custody. Is, oh, I want to be a dad. I want to be a part of their life. False allegations. And now a father is like in shame. They're arrested. They're walking out. Like, they're all of these things are happening to this guy, and it's like, where do you go from here? I don't want to go back out and fight. Like, how am I supposed to go out and fight when all I have to do is interact with this person and I might go to jail?
Right.
It makes it very, very difficult. And like those are the things that need to come out. Like, the dads talking about like what they're doing to be dads in there. I'm not saying that every dad is a good dad. I definitely think that there is a lot of domestic violence out there. I think that there's a lot of scenarios where parents both can take it to an extreme of control. I think dads use kids as a way of control as well. They're not as good at it, but they do use it. you know so, a lot of that exists on both sides, but it's when mothers aren't going to jail for harassing fathers. Mothers aren't going to jail for stalking fathers. Mothers aren't going to jail or anything bad is like they're not getting restraining orders against, or men aren't getting restraining orders against women. Like, it's really sad. It's very unfortunate, and that really streams from because women don't normally like. So when the system for restraining orders and domestic violence is really set up to where a woman needs to feel like they can and be taken seriously, that if they make an allegation, their situation is being true. Is like, if, let's just say, heaven forbid, they're assaulted in some way, in any way, they need to feel comfortable going to the police because oftentimes they think police don't believe them. So their incident is taken very serious, and that's why restraining orders are almost always given to by the police. The state will intervene and say, no, you're going to have a restraining order. In New Jersey, anyway. I'm sure it's the same way other places. In that same instance, if a man were to approach the police and say, this happened, I need a restraining order, a police officer is going to be like, were you afraid? Did you get hurt? Are you sure you were afraid? Like, wait, you're a bigger. Like, how are you afraid? Like, those are the things that will happen. Those are the things the police will say to you. But
Yeah, it happens all the time to men.
if you're a mother, you just go there and say, I don't feel comfortable. And they'll have, I like to call them white knights, because the police are not innocent in this. The white knights, like, you have the police officers, the single guys that are like, oh, let me help you. And then they
Yeah.
help them. And they're like, oh, you want to go get a cup of coffee? Oh, do you want to go out for dinner? This is a very common thing. I'm friends with a lot of police officers here in New Jersey, a lot of them, and it's a very common thing. These white knights, these guys that they want to like stand up for domestic violence when they're really taking advantage. It happens all of the time. So
Which you hear I think everyone's heard it before when a man talks about domestic violence and he said, "Oh, I was abused." They're just like, "How?" Well, she hit me. That's not abuse. You're a man. You hear it all the time, just like for like SV and the numerous different other types of abuse that a man can go through. A lot of times it's just swept under the rug, or people are just like, no, you're a man, you're fine. And it happens all the time. And it's unfortunate. And it puts a lot of weight on men. And
yeah.
some men go through some horrible shit and nobody believes them, or they're just told to get over it because they're a man.
I I I use like these Ray-Ban like smart glasses to take videos and stuff. And so I've recorded the police telling me, like, I'm trying to file a complaint. I want to press charges. And they're like, unless we witness it, we can't press charges. There's nothing we can do about it.
But if
And
she called and said, "Oh, he did this to
well,
me," you'd be in
that,
handcuffs.
that's what the police will say to me. And I have them. I have video. I have multiple videos. Oh, unless we witness it, there's nothing we can do. It's out of our hands. We have to witness it. So then I have a situation with me and my girlfriend. We're dropping my, because our custody exchange is at the police station. Even now, even with 50-50, it's at the police station. And
That I can't stress that enough how important that is, and it's an unfortunate thing that just happened. You can look it up after we get off in Augusta, where a court appointed custody exchange. They had it at a random parking lot instead of at the police station, and it was a abuse situation for where the man was abusive in this case. Um, and it was in a parking lot. The police were there, or are normally there to supervise, but in this case, the grandmother was there to supervise. The man got out, killed the mom and the grandma, and now
wow,
he's going to prison. And the child's in child protective services now, who's going to be in the foster care system, and that child had to witness everything. So
right.
I can't stress that
That's
enough.
that's so terrible.
Do custody exchanges at the police station. It protects
So
you, it protects them, it protects everybody.
we are having this one exchange, right? And the grandparents are there to exchange. And remember, the grandmother's the one fueling this. I have the grandmother, like, there's already harassment charges that get filed up. Like, I'm trying to protect myself from the grandmother because harassment's always there.
Right.
And so we go up to, so me and my girlfriend are with us, and Anna's, our daughter's in the back of the car in their car seat, and we go up to exchange. And as we're, unbuckling our seatbelts, like, and I always record everything. So as I'm approaching the police station, my phone is recording the approaching, because, like, stuff like this always happens. So we're approaching the police station. You see the grandmother and the grandfather walking out towards our car. They're approaching the car. They don't normally approach the car. They normally stay at a distance because there's so much happening. It's very hostile. They're approaching the car, and as my girlfriend's getting out of the car, I'm like, no, to get back in the car. So she gets back in the car, and I'm recording, and you see the grandparents screaming out the door, pulling on the car door. You hear our child like, what's going on? Why are they doing that? And so I call the police. At the same time, they're trying to pull our child out of the car, and I'm like, listen, we're being harassed. Can you guys come out here? So get off the phone with the police. About a minute later, they're still outside screaming at the car and trying to get inside the car. The police come in, so you see the police coming into the camera. You see I'm recording over here, and recording the police in front of us. There's witnesses. The police come out and they push them back away from the car. Stand back, get away, go back over there. And so again, now all of this is recording. It's in front of the camera. We're finally safe to where we can get out, take Anna out of the car, our daughter, and then and say goodbye, give her hugs and kisses. She gets in the car, they leave. We go inside and we file a complaint of harassment.
Oh yeah.
And so
That's crazy behavior.
remember how I said the police are like, oh, unless we witness it, there's nothing we can do about it.
What do you
So I'm
mean?
like, well,
You witnessed it. You stopped it.
this was before. This was before. Remember, I said
Oh,
it
okay,
before.
okay, okay.
So now I have video. We have the police officers here. I have my girlfriend with me. The police officers here that witnessed what's going on. I have it all on video, and I'm like, okay, I would like to file a complaint for harassment. We go. We fill out all the paperwork. I submit the video. We get the police statement. We get my girlfriend's statement. We submit it. They 2 days later, they denied the complaint. Not enough probable cause.
It doesn't get more probable than them walking out, stopping it, and you
But
having the
but
whole thing on video.
but on the way out from the police station, one of the police officers was like, because they found it humorous, and they told my girlfriend, because this was what the grandmother was screaming, stop trying to be her mother. And so the police officer tells my girlfriend's like, stop trying to be her mother, and this won't happen. But he's trying to be funny about it, because he's like,
Yeah,
in his mind, he's like, this was crazy, and he's trying to make light of it. But
yeah,
in my mind, I'm like, I just tried filing charges against this person. You signed a complaint against, like, why are we making this a humorous thing right now? This isn't humorous. You were called
yeah.
because of this situation, and we were looking for you to help and intervene, and you didn't, and you just made light of it instead. It's been rough. It's really really rough being a father, trying to be a father. and
Yeah.
getting your rights to be a father.
Well,
Everything is against you.
yeah, people don't understand, and I have to talk about it on the show. I've had to talk about it before. You don't see a mother having to come out here and just fight for their right to be a mother.
All right, exactly.
But
There's not a mother's
the
rights.
moment you become a father, if you and the mother are going to be together, or if y'all are separating, and you don't do it amicably, then you're going to have to fight for every right that you want to have to your child,
Yeah, I
and
think you
you're going
made
to
a
have
good
to
point.
fight for every step of the way.
Yeah, you made a good point. There's not a mother's rights channel.
No,
I've never seen a mother. I see a
I
lot of
no.
fathers' rights.
I've seen more channels for women advocating for fathers' rights
Yeah.
than ever before. And I actually have one. It's called the Weaponized Stepmom. She follows my Facebook page, and I follow her. And she posts some really good statistics and really good things, just talking about how things are weaponized against dads, just in general, when it comes to just dads trying to be dads. And
Well, I would love to
we're in
follow
a
her.
world. She posts really good stuff, and she posts about every day. I share it pretty often on the Facebook page. But you, we're in a world now where you are. I don't want to say punished, but a lot of times it's easy to be attacked just because you are a man. Um, and a lot of that's because of the media and the hatred that's pushed and things like that. But it's important to also acknowledge while that is the case, and there are a lot of dads, good dads, fighting for their rights to be to their kids. There's also a lot of bad apples out there. Because I posted a TikTok, and I was just talking about how fathers had to fight for their rights, and how it's going to be, it's against us when it comes to being dads. And of course, people have to bring up, well, there's actually a lot of terrible dads out there. And I was just like, I 100% agree. And I've had numerous dads get mad at me because they were telling me their stories. And I was just like, not going to lie to you, but it sounds like this is a lot because of your choices and your actions.
I feel like you and I can have another video regarding solutions to that. There are plenty of solutions, and we could
Oh,
totally talk about that.
I would
If you
love to
want to
have
have
another
another,
video.
if you want to do another video another day, we could totally do that. I would totally even do it this week.
Oh,
Solutions
yeah.
to bad dads. See, that would be very. I feel like that could be a very productive conversations.
Yeah. I'm off for the next 4 days. Wait, it's
Cool.
Tuesday? 3 days.
Got it. So when at that point, I want to play around with it because these little things down here, and it seems like I could actually like share something with you if I
Are
wanted
you
to,
are
but I
you
don't.
on a computer?
I am.
The
I don't want to
computer
accidentally put.
Riverside, the computer Riverside's actually really good.
Yeah.
I am at the point where I realize that I need to get a laptop.
Okay. Good.
Uh, because once I have a laptop for it, that's where I can have like my intro music, my intro video to play. You could like share stuff to the screen, and we could pull it up. And that
Yes.
I'm realizing very quickly I have to invest a little bit more in this.
Well, in the meantime, I'll totally do some more of these videos, and just when you go to stop recording, I want to see what I can do and what my options are on this side. Because if I can share like a screen or if I can share a document with you really easily, so you could read it, it would be really cool to show things like that, for the future.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
But
Uh,
I definitely think we should talk about the bad dad and the solutions next time.
oh yeah, we
And
could do it. I think that'd be a great conversation.
all right, man.
But yeah, this was an awesome episode. This was a great first interview for this
Cool.
this new era of the podcast.
Well, I'm glad, Wes. Thanks for letting me be the first one here. I know I had
Yeah.
a lot to say. I always have a lot to
Oh,
say. There's so
it
much
was
that
great.
happens.
It was great. I a lot of times, I've done other interviews for my other show, and I've done a couple for this one that it was just connection was bad and stuff. But this was very free flowing. This was nice. It was good.
Cool. Cool, cool, Wes.
So, thank you guys for joining us for the Modern Fatherhood podcast. This was Chris. We're definitely going to have him on again. Make sure to like, share, subscribe. You can find it on Spotify, YouTube, Amazon, Apple. I'm on all the podcast platforms, and follow Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, the whole nine. And I'll put his stuff in the bio of the episode, and y'all make sure to go show him some love. And we'll see you next time.